Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Now today we're going to be looking at a band called Mistur. M-I-S-T-U-R. Now, not heard of them before, so I had to do a little bit of research, as is my norm. And Mistur is a Norwegian black metal band that was formed in, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I guarantee it, Sogndal, Norway, in 2005 by Espen Baktig and Andre Ronhold. Probably pronounced those names horribly, and I do apologise if that is the case. They were joined shortly after by Stian Baktig, who otherwise known as Strom, guitarist for Vraid, ex-Core Scorpy, and ex-Windeer. Now, Windeer is a band of which I am very, very fond. I have quite a large collection of their music, big fan of their stuff. So that's interesting and has added a certain thing to this. After a demo, they landed a deal with a radio company, and the debut album Attende was released in 2009 to rave reviews. And apart from some festival work, shows and tours, the band then became inactive for a very short period before starting work on the follow-up album. So there we go. Now, today we're going to be looking at a track called Matriarch's Lament. It's a fairly long song, it's over 8 minutes long as far as I'm aware. I do have some lyrics here. Now, as I understand it, most of their lyrics are normally in Norwegian, but this one is actually in English, it appears. So that's a good thing for us, so we'll be able to look through what the song is about easily without having to figure out if the translation is accurate or not. So yeah, the track is called Matriarch's Lament, so let's jump into it and see what we get. So there we go, Mistur, Matriarch's Lament. Let's have a look. No, I'm gonna pause that briefly for a second. You can definitely tell there is quite an influence of Windir in that music. It actually reminds me a lot of some of Windir's music. So there's a definite sort of hint to it there. I quite like this. You know, but as many of you know, black metal is a very hit and miss subject with me, but I like this one. It works very, very well. Now, as I understand it, a lot of their songs are based around like Vikings and stuff like that. This is just from what I've briefly read, looking through some stuff. And this song itself, more or less, seems to follow along that same line. And with the title of the track being Matriarch's Lament, you know, that's like the sadness of a mother figure in certain terms. So the song goes, how long could it have been since the last time she saw the horizon and sun except through ashes, while from afar a neighbour is set to advance? Woe, her struggle in life, ache, a widowed old wife. So just those opening lines, it seems like how long could it have been since the last time she saw the horizon and sun except through ashes? So obviously she's like in a part of a village that seems to come under attack on a regular basis, or she's just so constantly surrounded by war and death, you know, and houses being burnt to the ground or cities being burnt to the ground, that where she lives is constantly in a cloud of like smoke and ash. And it says, while from afar a neighbour is set to advance, so it sounds like there's an invading army preparing to come their way. It says, woe, her struggle in life. So this is obviously something she's had to deal with on a regular basis. Ache, a widowed old wife, so she's lost her husband to one of these previous conflicts. And then there was some vaguely clean vocals. I mean, they still had a bit of a... There was a clean vocal in the background, but there was also the rest of it. It says, echoes, remnants of a sun, still they calm me. And then it carried on, across the land and over the fjord came a host of men to conquer, with flames and anger through the night they walked, silent and bent on their cause. So, you know, it's talking more about this invading army that's heading their way. You know, a host of men to conquer with flames and anger through the night they walked, silent and bent on their cause. So they are determined, they're coming to this village, they are determined to rape, pillage, destroy, what have you. So, you know, it's following what appears to be a common theme throughout their music, as I understand it. So far, pretty good. I'm quite liking it so far. Let's carry on and see where this goes. There we go. That was Matriarch Lament by Mistur. And that took a very, very unexpected and quite a dark turn right at the end there. I mean, the subject matter of the song is pretty heavy and dark as it is, but right at the end there, it took quite a nosedive. A very, very good piece of music, though. Like I said, it's got quite a mark of Windir to the sound. You know, there's obviously some inspiration from Windir in that music, and like I said, I really liked Windir's music. I'm a huge fan of them back in the day. And this is brilliant. This is really good black metal, very melodic. It's got all the elements, you know, all the typical elements of black metal in there, but they're being put together in such a way that it sounds really, really good. You know, as I've said numerous times, I'm very hit and miss when it comes to black metal. It's either really bad and sounds like it's been recorded in 3 separate houses or from one microphone in the middle, or you know, it's really, really good. There is stuff that's a little too overproduced, and then there's that sort of stuff. And this is really, really good. I really, really like this. Now the track, Carried On. Wake up now. They've set aflame the roof above our heads. So obviously this marauding army's come in and, you know, started firing flaming arrows into the roofs, attached roofs of these houses and huts. As they carved, killed, and raped, the ground seeped with red. So that's pretty thing in itself. And then they brought in those clean vocals again, with the harsher vocals over the top as well. It says, in her final moments, she was torn apart. The air was filled with flames and woe. When they lost all fate, the widow saw her son was nowhere to be found. So obviously this matriarch, this mother figure, I'm guessing she's probably like the head of the village sort of thing. You know, she's been violently murdered and, you know, torn apart, and as she's died, she's looked around and saw that her child is nowhere to be found. She doesn't know where her child is. Mother is gone, every loved one is slaughtered. Embrace the chaos, endure. And now this bit, these last couple of lines are really quite something. So, buried in a pit, under weight of many, a small one lies still, waits, and draws breath. And you know, that's pretty heavy. That is, you know, she looked around and seen that her child was nowhere to be found, and those last lines saying, you know, buried in a pit under the weight of many, a small one lies still and draws breath. So this small child is basically in amongst a million corpses in a mass grave, but he's still alive. So, you know, that's pretty, you know, that's pretty dark and pretty heavy, but it's really well written. You know, it tells the story perfectly. You know, like I said, the song is about eight or so minutes long, and there aren't actually that many lyrics to the track, but they tell the story brilliantly. You know, there's this woman, head of the village, who's been in amongst all of this war and destruction for many, many years. She's lost her husband to it, and she knows there's this invading army coming. When they arrive, they destroy the village, they burn everything down, they tear her to pieces, and, you know, she's looking around desperately for her son in her dying moment. She can't see him, and it turns out that he's still alive, buried in this pit. Now, I'm kind of hoping that this was a concept album and that later in the story he comes back and takes revenge. You know, that's kind of what I'm hoping. And, you know, it's possibly where the story might be intended to be going with those last couple of lines there. You know, I like the way it tells the story. You know, it's told it simply, it's told it straightforward, and, you know, very, very concise. I like that. I'll have to, I'm going to have to investigate the rest of that album, because I often wondered what happened to the members of Windir after the band separated after the unfortunate passing of, is it Valfar? I think Valfar was the vocalist of Windir. He unfortunately passed, and I wondered what happened to the band after that. So it's interesting to know that they've some of the members have continued, and like I said, this band has got distinct sound of Windear to it. Obviously, it's not exactly the same because they don't want to make a mirror copy of the band, but there's definite elements where you can tell it's them. Well, one of them. So yeah, I really like that. I will have to investigate that album some more. But I can't really think of much else to say about that track. I do like the mixture of the different styles of vocals. As I said before, I like it when people mix up vocal styles. You know, musically it was fantastic. They had the synthesizer, you know, the keyboard elements in there, and you know, it was all very, very good. It was clean, but not like too clean, if that makes sense. You know, not overly produced. You know, perfect sound. You know, it was good black metal. Something that I very much appreciate. I like black metal like that. But yes, I'll leave that as it is for the time being. Now, if anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so by all means. You can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you can even message me through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel and help me create future content. There is also an option in there where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue. There are a couple of provisos on there, like only being limited to it once a month for the time being, so that, you know, people who suggest tracks through normal means, like through comments and messages on Facebook and Instagram, get a fair chance as well. People who do recommend tracks on the normal channels do know it might take me a while to get around to your suggestions, since I get suggested so many tracks every single day that my list just grows so ridiculously fast. It's you know, I can't record the videos fast enough to keep up. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it will get done eventually. It's just going to take me a while to get around to it. But it will get done at some point. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mainly those that are perpetrated against people of the alternative culture, people who listen to alternative music and wear alternative fashion. It's something I believe in very, very strongly, and something I think definitely needs to be spoken about more, because not enough attention is brought to the fact that this is happening. And it is happening every single day, all around the world. People are getting violently attacked just because of their taste in music, just because they're wearing a t-shirt with a band name on it or a band logo on it. You know, it's happening all the time, and nothing is getting done. You know, people are getting hospitalised, people are getting limbs broken just because of their taste in music, and it's unacceptable that people are getting away with this. Because every single day we hear about all these other hate crimes, racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, etc. You know, we hear about these every single day. You know, we hear everything from the most heinous of these crimes where people are like killed or, you know, violently attacked, maimed, what have you, down to the smallest thing where somebody's just like made some insulting comment to another person. All of them are horrible crimes, no matter which end of the scale they're on. You know, and we hear about these every single day, but we're not hearing about these people that are getting violently attacked just because of their taste in music. You know, people have said to me, it's not a hate crime. It is. The very definition of a hate crime is attacking a person because you hate something about them, because you hate what they stand for, because you hate their choices or tastes. You know, it is the very definition of a hate crime. And attacking someone because of their taste in music or clothing is a hate crime. And this specific one is not getting spoken about enough. You know, the last time there was any widespread coverage of something like this happening was about 12 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster was brutally attacked with her, you know, her boyfriend and Sophie Lancaster were brutally attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people who beat them, kicked them, and stamped on their heads so violently that they both ended up in comas. Now, Rob Maltby, he thankfully survived. He came out of a coma after about a week or so, I can't remember how long exactly. But Sophie Lancaster, she was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries. She was murdered just because of her taste in music. And this was, like I said, 12 years ago, and that was the last time there was any widespread coverage of this sort of thing happening. And I can guarantee you, in the last 12 years since that happened, several hundred, maybe even thousands of people from the alternative community have been attacked in similar ways. And the only reason nothing is said about it is because it hasn't ended in tragedy. Nobody cares enough to actually do anything about it. And that needs to change. It needs to stop. We cannot allow these people that are perpetrating these crimes to get away with it, because essentially they are. They're not getting punished for violent crimes. And that needs to stop. That needs to change. We need to bring more attention to the fact that this is happening, so we can put a stop to it. We cannot allow what happened to Sophie Lancaster to happen ever again. It should never have happened in the first place. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to bring more attention to the fact that this is happening. They want people to know that they cannot get away with this sort of thing. That, you know, they need to know that there are consequences to their actions and that they will be punished in accordance with the law for their crimes. You know, they can't just sit there and think it is okay to violently attack someone just because you don't like their music. You don't attack people because they like different films and TV shows, do you? So why would you attack someone because they're tasting music? If you don't like it, don't listen to it. It's simple. You know, it needs to stop. We need to bring more attention to this. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any way, like a small donation through their website, or something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands from the web store, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to the fact that this is happening, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.